What's good, YouTube? We're talking college sports in the Deep South, where college football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here on the podcast, talking a little bit about Auburn football. Let's go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War Eagle. Talking a little preseason stuff here at Auburn, as Auburn has recently chosen, as most of us know, Bo Nix, the five-star recruit from Pinson Valley High School in Alabama, to be the starting quarterback, the first true freshman in a long time. Actually, it's been since 1946 that Auburn has had a true freshman as a quarterback. Now, I wanted you guys and gals to try this on for your mental size tonight. When the decision to choose Bo Nix hit mass media, one of the first comparisons that were garnished was Trevor Lawrence, who was a true freshman at Clemson last year, Tua Tagovailoa, who was a true freshman in 2017. Both of those guys were instrumental in helping their football teams win a national championship. So Bo Nix considered the next man up to possibly, have a very, very small shot. But I mean, it's a nice story. Okay. But just to try this on for your mental size, I want you guys to understand why these stories cannot be compared to one another. First of all, we're going to journey back to 2017 when the University of Alabama comes into Auburn undefeated, ready to go to the SEC championship to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Jalen Hurts, the quarterback at that time, struggled mightily in that particular football game. Had a turnover, that at least one that I know of, that was very costly for Alabama. Alabama losing that football game 26-14. Auburn goes to the SEC championship. Auburn loses to Georgia. Alabama then, via the voters, did not win a SEC division, Western Division championship, did not win the SEC conference, found their way as the one of the top four teams in the country, mainly because a very, very excusable, I guess you could say, loss to an Auburn team who had defeated two number one teams in the same month and had an opportunity to go to the college football playoff with a win over Georgia. I say that to say this. Jalen Hurts played pretty much the whole season as the starting quarterback for the University of Alabama in 2017, including the win in the college football playoff over Clemson. But first half for Jalen Hurts in the college football playoff was just about as bad as you could possibly imagine from a veteran quarterback. Now, mind you, all season, the Alabama fan base were literally screaming at the top of their lungs, put Tua Tagovailoa in. He is the best guy for the job. Although Jalen Hurts has taken you to two college football playoffs, Tua Tagovailoa is the guy. Nick Saban did not listen until the second half of the college football playoff game. What happens? Tua Tagovailoa led a comeback which pushed the game against Georgia, who Georgia was dominating for the most part, pushed the game against Georgia into overtime. Of course, Tua Tagovailoa takes a detrimental sack that we all thought the game was over. Tua has made that freshman mistake, but what does he do? He comes right back, throws a long touchdown, and the rest is history. Tua Tagovailoa led a second half comeback to lead his football team to a national championship. I'm going to explain to you why that scenario is not something that you can compare with the potential scenario of Bo Nix. Trevor Lawrence, one of the best quarterbacks recruited in the country, out of Gainesville, Georgia, right under, the nose of Kirby Smart. A lot of 24/7 experts predicted 81% that Trevor Lawrence would actually go to Georgia instead of going to Clemson. He decides to go to Clemson. As a true freshman, served initially as a backup for Kelly Bryant. We all know the story about Kelly Bryant. The year prior, similar to Jalen Hurts, led Clemson to a college football playoff. Wasn't all that successful. Lost, ironically, to Jalen Hurts and Alabama 24-6. Fast forward to 2018. You have a scenario where Trevor Lawrence actually made his first start actually had a significant amount of playing time in the first game against Furman. Kelly Bryant actually had the start. Second week, Clemson goes down to College Station. Guess who starts? Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant started pretty much, carried the team through that whole game, winning that game in a squeaker, 28-26. A week later, Clemson names Trevor Lawrence as the starting quarterback, and immediately Kelly Bryant hits the transfer portal. I'm going to explain to you why these two scenarios of, Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence, you cannot in any form or fashion compare this scenario to the current situation of the probability with Bo Nix. Number one, both Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence had relatively soft landings in their spotlight, so to speak. Tua Tagovailoa had a chance to sit on the sideline pretty much the whole year, coming in as a reserve role, but having that one defining moment, and all of a sudden the media says, Tua Tagovailoa leads Alabama to a national championship. No, he did not. He led a second half comeback that led to a national championship, but he did not lead throughout the season the team to the national championship. There's no telling how that season would have turned out. We will never know. Maybe he would have gone undefeated. Maybe he would have even beaten Auburn. But at this point, we will never know because that wasn't the script written for his particular situation. So for us to compare Bo Nix situation as a true freshman to Tua Tagovailoa's situation as a true freshman, eventually the stories will not tie together. Because, like I said before, Tua Tagovailoa had a soft landing into the spotlight, into, all of the media hype. He didn't have to go through what potentially Bo Nix will have to go through. And I'm going to explain that in a second. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, he got a little playing time against the FCS school in Furman. Didn't play much against Texas A&M, and then had the start, and then went on and led an onslaught for Clemson all the way to the blowout against Alabama. Again, Trevor Lawrence was was ushered a lot quicker. Dabo Swinney pulled the trigger on Kelly Bryant before Nick Saban pulled the trigger on Jalen Hurts. But nonetheless, it still was a soft landing. What you guys have to understand is this. Bo Nix is in a situation where not only is he a true freshman quarterback, there's no other veterans to lean on. Is Bo Nix, Joey Gatewood, a bust? Nobody with experience on the team, at least with Clemson. They had a chance that they made an educated decision. Trevor Lawrence had the chance to say he decided to transfer, but Auburn has nothing. Auburn has no transfers. This is Bo Nix, true freshman quarterback, right out of high school, with Joey Gatewood as the backup. Much different scenarios than what you had at, Alabama and Clemson. Second, Bo Nix is going to be taking his first collegiate snap against Power 5 Oregon team that has aspirations to win the Pac-12, that has aspirations to possibly, if things go their way, make it to the college football playoff. That's a huge stage for any true freshman quarterback. And Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa did not have to make their first snaps in college football under these circumstances. So I think we need to kind of cool down when it comes to comparing the potential of this particular situation against the outcomes of Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa, because they are totally different. Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence didn't have to take their first snaps against a Power 5 football team with a whole lot on the line. And even if they did have to take them, they still had Jalen Hurts in Alabama, and they still had Kelly Bryant if you were to take that first snap against a Power 5 team week 1. That's something that we have to remember. When these guys took their first snap, there was somebody behind them that they had an anchor. If this didn't work out, the coach could easily throw Jalen Hurts back in. Even last year in 2018, Tua Tagovailoa as a sophomore had an anchor. He had the best backup quarterback in America. So there was, not only did he have plenty of talent, Jerry Jeudy, Waddell, all those guys, great running back core, also a great offensive line. He also had one of the best quarterbacks in the country on his as a backup. I mean, you know, what a best case scenario that could be. Auburn, on the other hand, Gus Malzahn did make mention, hey, we gotta do well around him. You know, we gotta do well around him. We have to do our best to rally around him and do our best to supplement his inexperience. One thing going in Auburn's favor, they have a relatively experienced defense coming back. Especially you talk about the defensive line. We've talked about that nonstop here on this channel. Much more athletic linebackers could give some opportunities, maybe to force some turnovers, put Bo Nix in some good situations to make some good plays against a very good Oregon team early, because he's going to need some help. Conversely, on the offensive line, that's a key point. When I think about, you know, the team has to play well around him, the offensive line have to up their level of play. They have to understand the protective nature that they're going to have having a true freshman quarterback in a very, very adverse position. Congratulations to Bo Nix, but hey, we're throwing you to the Wolves week 1 against Oregon. That didn't happen to Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa. That's why I think it's almost irresponsible to compare the two, because you just can't. The two scenarios, when the story plays all the way out, assuming, you know, first of all, Bo Nix would actually have to win a national championship, which the odds are not very good anyway. But let's just say, if we're comparing just having a great season, even at that, Bo Nix has a lot of adversity, you know, in his particular scenario. Okay, a lot of things unproven. Wide receivers, even though some inexperienced, still have a lot of things unproven for the Auburn Tigers. So that's why these comparisons are not necessarily valid. It's just something that I thought about today, guys. And I want you all, guys and gals, to get in the comment section and let me know what you think about this, you know, concept of comparing the potential of Bo Nix and him possibly going to a college football playoff as a true freshman versus Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence as true freshmen. I think, and I know, if this thing really plays all the way out to where Bo Nix does the unthinkable and navigates through this entire season as a true freshman with no veteran backup, with no veteran support, probably, when you think about talent, probably doesn't have the talent around him that Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence has. I think it will be absolutely epic. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, talking a little bit about Auburn football. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.